Shabbat Shalom, ILOVEVBS Shalom. Thank you for being with us this evening. I'm Cantor Phil Barron. This is the best band in Los Angeles, just saying. And I hope you'll join in some of the singing tonight, because that's the whole idea, for us all to pray together. And join us with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlikne Shel Shabbat. Page 13. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharei, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Elohim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharei, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei 15. Lechun eranena, lechun eranena, lechun eranena, lechun eranena, lechun eranena, lechun eranena, Maria, Soli, Shenu, Nikara, Pana, Vitoda, Maria, Soli, Shenu, Vilmiro, Tavielo, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Gadol Adonai, O Melech Gadol Hakol Elohim. Gadol Adonai, O Melech Gadol Hakol Elohim. Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena. Naria, Letzor Yishen, Nikad Mafana, Letzoda. Naria, Letzor Yishen, Bilmiro, Naria, Lo, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Lechun eranena, Ladonai. Feel like sailing, Rabbi? Okay. Page 18. Oh, okay. Yeah. 40 שנה הכות בדור, ואומר התורה לבבם, להם לא ידעו דרכי, אשר נשבעתי ביפי, אם יבואון אל מנוחתי. זרו על הצדיק, ולישראל שמחה, שמחה ללילי. זרו על הצדיק, ולישראל שמחה, שמחה ללילי. Do this. זרו על הצדיק, ולישראל שמחה, שמחה ללילי. זרו על הצדיק, ולישראל שמחה, שמחה ללילי. hayam umelu, Yiram hayam umelu, Levil veyom shveva, Yiram hayam umelu, 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 Levil veyom shveva, Yiram hayam. Neharonim chao kaf lay 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 lay, Yacharanim yiraneinu. Neharonim chao kaf lay 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 lay, Yacharanim yiraneinu. Ram hayam milu, Ram hayam milu, Ram hayam milu, Ram hayam milu, Bilve yishvema, Ram hayam milu. Neharonim chao kaf lay 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 lay, Yacharanim yiraneinu. Neharonim chao kaf lay 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 lay, Yacharanim yiraneinu. Ram hayam milu, Ram hayam milu, Bilve yishvema, Ram hayam milu. On page 19, sing along, yai-da-dai, yai-da-dai-dai, 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 which means it's such a beautiful evening and so great to be with you. Yai-da-dai, yai-da-dai-dai, 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 yai-da-dai, yai-da-dai-dai, yai-da-dai-dai, It says on page 20, it's written right there between the lines.
Shabbat Shalom. It's a beautiful evening, isn't it? It's really nice. Just enjoy the light, enjoy the air. It's just a wonderful time of year. It was so hot over the summer. We were schwitzing, and it's going to be so cold in the winter. So today's the only nice evening. So just really enjoy it. So I was thinking about the next prayer is L'chad Dodi, which is the great hymn of the Shabbos, created in the 16th century in Tzfat. And what the mystics of the Tzfat community did was something very powerful. They changed time, they changed space into time. I'm going to try to explain this. The restaurant that I took my wife on our first date, 3 years later, it got turned into a cheap bar. The hotel where we got married at the Ambassador Hotel. Anybody remember that? Yeah, it got knocked down. Now it's a high school. Okay? Our first home, we lived in Texas. My first job out of school was in Texas. We lived in this wonderful little 3-bedroom house that I could afford to buy with my Hebrew school salary and my rabbi salary. And as soon as we moved out, I mean like the day after we moved out, it got knocked down. This was the house where all 3 of our kids were. They were born in the house, but it's where we brought the kids when they were born. Then we moved to Los Angeles, and we lived in Granada Hills. Anyone ever hear of the Northridge earthquake? That's a lie. It was under my kitchen in Granada Hills. The whole house jumped 8 feet in the air, came smashing down, and we had a beautiful panoramic view of the North San Fernando Valley where the back wall of the bedroom used to be. I'm a real estate jinx. Because every place that's been important to me in my life has somehow fallen apart. Now, that's a Jewish experience, I have to tell you, because the Jewish people had that experience writ large. There was a place in Jewish experience which was holy. It was a place where heaven and earth touched. It was a place where a human being could make pilgrimage, where we made pilgrimage, and stood in the presence of God. A few moments ago, the cantor sang for us, Romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachu v'lahar kodsho. That's a pilgrimage song. That's a marching song. It was a marching song up to the mountain. Up the mountain, if you've ever been to Israel, to get to Jerusalem, you have to go up the mountain. You start in Tel Aviv, you go up the mountain. Then in Jerusalem, you go up to the Temple Mount. And you stood on the Temple Mount in front of the Holy Temple, and you felt yourself in the presence of the divine. That was our holy place. We made pilgrimage to that place times during the year. Every family had a pilgrimage time during the course of the year when they would go up to the holy place. Holy places. Anyone have sacred places in their lives? Places where special things happen? Places where you discovered things? Places where you fell in love? Well, the Jewish people has this holy place. And then in the first century, it's destroyed. Completely destroyed. And I can tell you, I know what that feels like. Because I drive by the Ambassador Hotel and say to my kids, that's where Mom and Dad got married. And they say, but that's a high school. Yeah, but then it was... But what the Jewish people did was they took holy places and turned them into holy times. Holy times can never be destroyed. Because holy times live with us. And we can always return to a holy moment by closing our eyes and feeling the power of that moment and returning to that moment, coming back to that special moment and to the feelings of that moment. So for just a moment, just come with me for a minute and think of a holy time in your life. Think of a moment of closeness, a moment of intimacy, a moment of specialness, a moment of miracle, a moment of healing or a moment of uplift, a moment of inspiration, a moment of discovery. Think of that moment and hold it and be there for just a minute. And that is how the ancient mystics thought about Shabbat. That every week we return to a holy moment, a place of wholeness, of peace, of completeness, of healing, of everything being right in the world. L'chad dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela. Come and let us enter into that holy moment together and celebrate it and live in it and inhabit it in the same way that we once lived in holy places. It's on page 21 in the prayer. L'chad dodi
לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה לך אדוני לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה שמור וזכור בני rise as we begin our Mariv service. Yadadai, dai, dai. 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 Baruchu et Adonai La da dai dai dai, 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 la da dai dai dai. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach seated. Umavir yom, umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravi. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al kein Adonai Eloheinu V'shoveinu v'koveinu Nasiach Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We are on page 30 and hope you will join us. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך והיה אם שמות ישמעו מצוותיך אשר היום ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור דבר אל בני ישראל ואמרת עליהם ויעשו להם ציצית על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם ונתנו על ציצית הכנף בטיל תכלת והיה לכם לציצית וראיתם אותו וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני ועשיתם את אותם ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם אשר אתם זונים אחריהם למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם
Some years ago, my wife and I were in Italy. We were in Rome. And the thing you see in Rome, besides the Roman ruins, are the churches. The most magnificent churches in the world. And we took a walking tour with a book to maybe 20 churches one afternoon. Some of them the big, giant, magnificent ones. Some small ones tucked into small neighborhoods. But even the small ones are exquisite. The artwork is exquisite. The architecture is exquisite. The atmosphere is exquisite. And for some reason, that summer, there were a lot of tourists who had come from Asia to see Europe. So we would be standing in a church, like looking at the artwork, and a big bus would pull up, and all of these wonderful people from China, South Korea, Japan, we were talking to all of them and letting them speak English, and it was just wonderful. And I said to my wife, you know, I've been at Valley Beth Shalom for almost 30 years. I don't remember one bus of Japanese tourists ever coming to VBS. Not one. In fact, when we started doing the remodel of the shul, I said to the architect, that's my dream. You know, I want busfuls of Asian tourists to come and see VBS. He said, keep dreaming, Rabbi. No, and he's right, and I'll tell you why, because it's what we talked about a moment ago. Because what the Jewish tradition did was to move us from sacred place to sacred time. From sacred spots, from places to go to see magnificent art, to sacred moments with magnificent feelings. And that's why you don't, I mean, maybe Wilshire Boulevard Temple is an outlier, but outside of Wilshire Boulevard Temple, there's not one shul in LA that I would take my relatives to see. I'd go to the Getty before I go to any shul, because we don't do that. We don't invest in sacred spaces. We invest in sacred moments. And if you want to know what Jewish life is really about, it's about the cultivation of sacred moments, learning how to be sensitive to moments, and learning how to hold on to them once they happen, and learn from them, and cherish them, and then return to them in memory whenever we have to. We are a people not of sacred spaces, but of sacred moments. And one corollary to this, if you'll permit me one more thing, is that we don't have a lot of sacred stuff. Again, you ever been to Paris? You go to the Louvre? You got rooms and rooms and rooms and rooms and rooms of beautiful painting and sculpture created by the church during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. We don't have any of that stuff. There's no Jewish art. There's one, Chagall, right? But that's late, early 20th century, late 19th, early 20th century. You go to a Jewish museum, what do you see? Spice boxes, Torah covers. We don't have one Michelangelo. We don't have one ceiling of a synagogue that you'd go and gawk at the way you go to the Sistine Chapel. Because, again, it's not about sacred stuff, which is part of sacred place. It's about sacred moments and sacred memories. That's what we're about. That's part of the reason why music is so important to this people. Because if you let go of stuff, then you have a place to put all of your aesthetic reflexes, all of your aesthetic juices into melody, into music, which is part of sacred moment, not part of sacred stuff. All right, one last point. The most wonderful sacred moment in the entire history of the people takes place on the other side of the Red Sea. You were all there. I saw you there. You were standing next to me. fact, you were standing on my foot. We were slaves. Our parents were slaves. Their parents were slaves. We had no hope. We thought we'd be slaves, and their kids and our kids and their grandkids would be slaves. And suddenly this guy Moses shows up and said, pack your things, we're leaving tonight. And most Jews said, what, are you kidding? They're still there. But the few of us who said, let's go. We ran into the desert 3 days and stopped at the Red Sea and stopped there and began to breathe for a moment and thought, maybe this is really happening. And then, to our horror, we looked back and saw Pharaoh chasing us. And we turned to Moses. Remember, you said this. We turned to Moses and we said, what kind of leader are you? You're going to drown in the sea or get slaughtered by the Pharaoh. And what did Moses say? Watch. That's all he said was watch. And he held his arm over the sea. And we crossed. Remember, we all crossed. And on the other side, whatever happened next, we turned around and there was no one chasing us. And then we turned around again, and what did we see? The vast open expanse of the wilderness. The promise that we would be free, and our children would be free, their children would be free. And there's a God in the world who sometimes stands with the weak and the powerless and the voiceless against the powerful and the oppressive. That is the beginning of the Jewish spirit. It is loyalty to that memory that makes us what we are. And it's such a memory, such an important memory, that we revisit it every time we pray. Page 32. Join me on the other side of the Red Sea. Wipe the mud off your feet, stand up straight, look out at the wilderness, and sing.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Prayer for peace, a prayer for protection, a prayer for a night of quiet. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Let us lie down tonight in peace. V'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim, and raise us up in the morning to life. Ufros salenu sukat shlomecha, spread above us a shelter of peace. V'taknenu b'yetz tova milfanecha, v'oshienu leman shemecha, v'yagein b'yadenu, v'yaser me'aleinu oyev, dever, v'cherev, v'rav, v'yagon. Remove all that frightens us and steals the peace of the nighttime. V'yaser satan milfanenu mi'acharenu, v'tzil kanafecha tastirenu, ki oshomrenu matzilenu ata, ki el-melech hanun v'rachum ata. Because you, God, are the source of kindness, of security, and of peace. Guard us when we go out, and protect us as we come home. Baruch atah Adonai, apore sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim. Let's all stand together. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael.
את השבת, את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם, לדורותם ברית עולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל. אותי לעולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל. אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל
Take a few moments of silent meditation.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ואמרו
And you may as well keep standing, and we'll have some Kaddish. There is such a thing. Having a few technical problems here tonight, but...
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit Yom Tehila Lemikrae Kodesh Zecher Nitziat Mitzrayim Ivanu Vacharta Vyotanu Kidashta Mikol Hamim V'Shabbat Kodshecha Ve'ahava Uvratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Aleinu 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 לעולם ועד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Take a moment to remember loved ones who have passed on. The words of the Mourner's Kaddish found on page 52. We'll ask anyone who recites the Kaddish in memory of a loved one to please remain standing. Everyone else may please be seated, except if you find yourself sitting near someone who's standing by themselves, stand up with them so they know that no one needs to grieve or mourn alone when friends are present. This time of year, for a strange reason, I have to tell you that we've lost many of the patriarchs and matriarchs of our community. It's been a very sad time. People whose lives were very long. Darwin lived to be 97. Harriet lived to be 98. Evelyn was 93. And this week we lost a beautiful soul, Barbara Braun. Barbara would have been 90 on Tuesday, but she passed away on Saturday. And we remember her with, she passed away the week on Friday before the Shabbos. We remember her with great love. Barbara was the kindest, most caring and giving person, raised in a wonderful, wonderful family. Everyone in this family is genius quality person. And Barbara observed all of that, and her genius was to show care and love and support and acceptance and kindness and make sure that everyone in her vicinity, everyone in her presence felt accepted, that they belonged, they were welcomed, and they were celebrated. We welcome Barbara's family, and we mourn for her and her sweetness and her kindness. Together with all the ones we remember in our community, page 52, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chayedecho beit Yisrael bagalau v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach li'olam ol me'ol maya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnasei, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekud shabrichu. Le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata. Damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlom araba min shamaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Uyaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Please be seated. Welcome tonight. So glad you could come and enjoy this beautiful, beautiful evening. This is a lovely evening and a lovely spot. This service is called Rimonim. Rimonim means pomegranates. In the great tradition of the Jewish mystical imagination, the pomegranate was a wonderful metaphor for the world because its outside seemed whole, but inside it was filled with thousands of opportunities for sweetness. And that's why Rimonim becomes a symbol of Jewish mystical wisdom. So we meet on the second or third Friday night of the month. Depends on the month, depends on how Canterbury's feeling. Next one will be November 19th, which I think is the third one in the month. Yeah, not Thanksgiving, that's the following week. But the next one's November 19th. I'm not sure where it's going to be. It floats through the building. It's somewhere here at VBS, I promise you. Yeah, if you get to the IHOP, you went too far. It won't be there, that I know for sure. But one of the rooms in this building it will meet, and we'd love to have you come back. We have wonderful musicians, and it's put on by Canterbury, who's this genius right over here. Woo! And tonight he is assisted by these three wonderful gentlemen. So this is Jamie, who is the best liturgical drummer on the planet. I mean, unbelievable. This is Gitai. He's new to us. Gitai is a teacher in our school. and a beloved teacher in our school, happens to be also a remarkably talented musician. Thank you. Really good to have you sitting in with us tonight. Wonderful. And this is Ash. Ash grew up in this place. Ash is a Ben Bayit in every sense. And Ash brings, well, the guitar's not working tonight, but everything else is working tonight. So thank you so much for sharing this with us tonight. Really good to have you here. A couple of other quick announcements, the best part of the service. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, this Torah study on Facebook and YouTube. Someday we'll be back in person. Someday. 10 o'clock or 9:30 is tomorrow morning. I think the service starts at 9:30 or 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. We have the bat mitzvah of Sylvie Wax, who's a wonderful young woman. She's been studying for her bat mitzvah. That's tomorrow. It'll be led by the members of our playground minyan. And tomorrow afternoon, Asher Madnick's having his bar mitzvah at 4 o'clock, which will be wonderful. Sunday morning minyan, it's at 8:30 in the morning online, not in person, and at 6 o'clock in the evening. But every other morning in person at 7:30 and at 6 o'clock in the evening. Lunch and Learn, my Lunch and Learn class, which has been on for a long time, is returning this Wednesday at 12:30. We're going to start online and see if we can find a place that'll let us in person. But in the meantime, we'll be learning together. We're learning the books at the end of the Bible, the books you never got to in Hebrew school. And we'll start with the Book of Kohelet, which is one of the most challenging philosophical books in the entire corpus of the tradition. So please join us for that online. Eventually we'll be back in person. I think that's all the good announcements for now, right? We got any more? I think it's a good one. Let's all stand up. Everybody turn around and say, Good Shabbos! Shabbat Shalom!
אחרי ככלות הכל, לבנו ימלוק נורא, והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם, אשר מלך, טרם כל, ציר נראה, ויש נעשה.
Thank you.
The world's preeminent liturgical.
Oh, that's good.
You put that on your resume. Hey, Mark. How you doing? Yeah, right.
Hey.
It's a flash.
How's it going, my friend?